Okay, so this is a piece of software I wrote a couple years ago. I call it the ZwiftBabysitter. And it's originally all it was supposed to do is kind of open up, make sure Zwift is running, starts the launcher, and then it starts this borderless gaming application that lets me run Zwift in full screen, but it doesn't think it's in full screen mode, and that way I can do like some picture-in-picture stuff. And then it also makes sure that this virtual here client is running since I stream this from my desktop over to a Steam Link. This lets me use my Ant USB sticks that are here with the bike. And then basically when I was all done writing, then it would make sure to kill all those applications so they don't hang around in the background. That was all it did originally. And then this project was to add some functionality where I would listen to my power meter, which is an Ant Plus sensor, and then based on which zone you're currently riding in, it would control some LED lights in the room there to kind of give like just kind of like an atmospheric effect. So anyway, if you turn that setting on, then what you have to do, you come in here, you can discover available power meters. So this just starts up the Ant Plus radio and listens for devices that are broadcasting on the bicycle power meter frequency, basically. And eventually, it's kind of, the way Ant Plus works, it sends different, what they call pages of data, and every so many seconds, it's like a manufacturer or device information page, and that's where I can then grab the manufacturer info to kind of put that alongside the ID to be more meaningful. But anyway, then you can select your power meter that way. And then the lights I ended up using are, it's a brand called Yeelight. I chose them because they have an API that doesn't use any like cloud services. You can just do it on your LAN. And so similarly, you can fire this up and it'll discover all the Yeelight bulbs and then LED strips that are on your network. And you can choose which of those you want to control. And then, yeah, so what it'll do then is it'll connect to, when you first start up the babysitter, it will look for your power meter. So it found that here. It's currently broadcasting no power because I'm not on the bike. And then it'll search for the lights that you've selected and told it that you want to manage. Then on startup, it looks for those lights, it connects to them. And then in the case of LED strips, it puts those into like this flashing white pulse. Basically, that just indicates that we are connected but looking for the power meter. There's a couple of other sort of user feedback flows that go on the LED strip, and that's if you don't have, for instance, if you don't have an FTP entered so that it can't calculate zones, or if you don't have a power meter selected, then the feedback to the user is this pink, again, kind of heartbeat effect. And that just indicates that there's a config error and it's not going to work until you go fix it. But we aren't receiving anything from our power meter. So in this case, that's because our power meter is asleep. So we just need to wake it up. And then you get that rainbow pattern as sort of a feedback that it has connected. And then it'll just be the solid sort of dim white color. And then real quick, we'll do a demo here with our debug window. This is what it'll look like when we're in zone 1. The light strip gets a little bit brighter. The light bulb gets a little bit dimmer, just sort of gives it a more ambient effect. Zone 2, then we go blue. These mostly match Zwift colors. Zone 3 is green. Zone 4, we also start to change the color temperature of the light bulb to be a little yellower. Zone 5 then, the bulb is orange, the LED strip is orange, and it has like this heartbeat effect every couple of seconds. And then zone 6 is a similar effect, it's all red, and the heartbeat's a little faster. And then of course you can, if any zone you go to, it'll just jump back to where it's supposed to be. So let's see it in action. All right, so here we are doing 0 watts And so we just have our ambient room lighting, the bulb's at full brightness, and the LED strip is solid white, but it's like half brightness, just normal room lighting. Solid light, meaning we're connected to the power meter, we're connected to the lights, everything's functioning. We just aren't doing any power right now. And so if we go into a zone 1 effort, the lighting changes, so the the bulb gets a little bit dimmer, and the LED strip goes to full brightness. It just sort of gives the room like a more smooth, even white light. You'll see there's some smoothing between neighboring zones. So basically, if you're doing a workout in erg mode, and especially if you're on like a sweet spot effort or something like that, where you're right on that boundary between two zones, your smart trainer or your power meter are probably not going to be perfectly locked in there. You might be fluctuating 5 or 10 watts up and down, and so we don't want the lights constantly bouncing back and forth because it'd be distracting. And so we have a few rules in the system where if you're going into a neighboring zone, you have to hold that power for you have to stay in that zone for at least 3 seconds before the lights will change to smooth that out a little bit. But we have some other rules where if you change power by more than 50 watts, it'll immediately change. If you skip over a zone entirely, so like if you go from zone 1 straight into a sprint or something, it'll switch immediately. Things like that. So again, this is zone 1. If we go into a zone 2 effort, it should turn blue. It may take a few seconds because that's a neighboring zone. There we go. And then similarly, if we jump to zone 3, that's another neighboring switch, so it may take a few seconds. There it goes. And then if we jump straight to a rest interval, back to zone 1, it changes immediately because we jumped over zone 2. So we know it's not just a fluctuation. So then similarly, if we jump to a zone 4 threshold effort, there's zone 4. And then back to zone 1. And then if we go from zone 1 straight into zone 5 VO2 max effort, then it jumps straight away. And back down to zone 1. And then if we go into a sprint in zone 6, there it goes. And then we can drop all the way to zone 2. That was a big jump, so it put us in zone 1. But there, now we're in our zone 2. And then, of course, if you stop pedaling, it goes back to your zone 0, your 0 watt. This is your ambient light. And that's pretty much it.